Okay, we're going to go to the manual on this just for a second. You want to see which direction in the wing that your servo horn on the servo is not centered. It's toward one end. So you need to see which way that goes, and mainly because it doesn't really matter as far as function, but a lot of your kits, depending on the linkage that they gave you, if you put this in there the wrong way, then your linkage is going to be either too short or too long. So this one in the manual here, it is showing the horn facing the control surface, so it goes to the back, and that's all I want to make sure of there. So once we get that done, we will temporarily feed the wire down in there. Now remember, there's a string in there to use to tie your servo on. Your lead. We got to make sure. See this one? There we go. All right, make sure it fits in there. All right, now here's where my handy little Obi drill comes in. I love this thing. What you want to do when you put that in the hole, it's going to have a little bit of slack, so you can slide it back and forth. All right, you want to kind of center that, and the reason for this, if you can keep it from touching any surfaces, that eliminates a little bit of vibration, and vibration is what will make these things go out. So try to get it centered up. Drill your pilot hole. Be real careful not to go all the way through and hit the other side, or you'll be using some of your scrap for patching. Alright, we got that drilled. Now, well, that thing's tight right there. Okay, here's something we've learned. All the books and everything we've ever read always say to thread your screws in the hole, take them out, and then put CA. We have learned that if you just put CA in them right now, after you drill them, they stay a lot tighter. You don't have to thread them and go to all that trouble first. So what we're going to do is put a couple of drops in each hole. What that does, that tightens up that wood in there and lets the threads stay real tight. It's almost like a Loctite. Alright, just let that set for a few minutes, or a minute or two. You don't want to just screw your screws in there and they stick to your servo. Let me get my tweezers here. Alright, while we're waiting on that, we're going to get the string out of here. It was way up in there. I'm wondering. I don't see another block. Sometimes these planes come with another block over here that you can put the elevator servo out here and then cut this in half and make flaps. Then they had the string wheel over here, but I don't see a block. What you'd have to do if you wanted to do that, you'd have to cut your covering back, go in here and build a block out of light ply for a servo tray, and then you could cut this probably about where the black line is here, or a little less, have a flap toward the middle part and an aileron out here. Your shorter or smaller ailerons are going to make it less acrobatic, but your flaps are going to make it easier to land. But this plane, you don't need flaps. This thing lands like a baby. It's got a large wing from leading edge, trailing edge. It's real wide. It's a symmetrical wing, semi-symmetrical. The difference in that, a semi-symmetrical, if you look, see the angle on the bottom of the wing and the difference in the angle on the top. Okay, this has got more curve to it than the bottom, so it's a semi-symmetrical. If you have a symmetrical wing, it's going to be the same curve top and bottom. And then you have a flat bottom wing, which is going to be rounded on top and perfectly flat on the bottom, like a Cub or most top wing type planes. That's the difference in symmetrical, semi-symmetrical, and flat bottoms. Semi-symmetrical are more acrobatic. Flat bottom type, especially top wings like Cubs and stuff, they float too and easy to land. But this thing is a baby to land. I've never seen anything. You got about a 3-mile-an-hour headwind, you can bring it in like a kite and just almost set it down like a cotton ball. It's a blast. You guys will love it. Alright, we're going to tie on our servo lead. You can do a slip knot, you can tighten a knot, whatever you want to do, because you're just going to pull it through there and cut it off. I can get my big old fingers wrapped around here and get it tied. So I tie it in a knot where it won't come off. If it ever does come off, hang on just a second. Here it is. I found it. Alright, we have a little homemade lead out of heavy coat thread or quilting thread that's real stout. And this is just a little fueling probe off of a fuel set that we don't use, and it's got a little hole in the end of it, makes it perfect to tie string to. It's just enough weight that if you do lose your string in one of these wings, or if you ever want to change your servos out or whatever, you can take this little weight and feed it down through that hole, and then get a pair of tweezers and pull it out of your servo opening, and so you and then tie it on to your string to your servo and pull it back out. So you don't ever be concerned if you pull this little white string out of your wing. It's easy to fix. Just make you a little deal like that. You can use a washer. I just like this because it's real small and narrow, and it makes a really good little plumb bob. So okay, we got that tied on. Now the string is taped right here, coming out this hole. And actually, the servo lead is not going to come through here. This wing's going to be a one piece glued together, so there's a hole right here. You can see through the covering. You want to take your very sharp razor knife, trim out that little hole. And the blade's getting dull already. These are not very good blades. Okay. It doesn't have to be real fancy because this is going to be under the or inside the fuselage. Now we're going to pull our wire all the way through, and then remember the servo horn end of the servo faces back, so we're going to get it down in the hole there. We're going to put some screws in it. Oh yeah, let me get my handy dandy little, this is a little pencil screwdriver. I found this at Lowe's Home Improvement. It was like $9. I love this little thing, especially for these. It's 2 AA or maybe 2 AAA batteries. Yeah, AAAs. But it lasts a long time, and it's got a forward and reverse. For light duty work like this right here, it's great for these servos. It goes right into this softer wood, even into the glue. There we go. Now if you're screwing them into a hard block of hard, oak or something like that, no, it's not going to work. You're going to have to use a big screwdriver. But in this softer wood, or like your little servo trays inside your planes, works great. Takes a lot of load and work off your hands, twisting and carrying on. But you can just find whatever tools you're comfortable with. But if you do very much of this building, all I build is ARFs, almost ready to fly kits. I don't build whole kits. But you'd be amazed at how many tools you end up acquiring for certain things. And we've got a whole cabinet full here. I've got my big cabinet to my right, and my toolbox behind me, and I've got another one over here. But most of my stuff I can reach without even getting up. I can just go get my tools right out of the drawers. Makes it really handy. Someday I'm going to get my shop finished out here, have a big workbench. But this one works really good for now in a compact space. Alright, we got that servo in. Now remember, the servo arm we have to center up here in a little bit. Now we're going to cut the string off of this. And then, you can do it with your fingers or a pair of tweezers, whatever. We're going to feed it up through there. And then what we'll do, let me get my tape. Take a piece of this really heavy duty packing tape. Tear off a little piece. And we are going to tape that down so that we don't lose our lead down in that hole, and it just keeps it neater. And so anyway, and then when the other one comes out, they'll be side by side. This particular plane, depending on the receiver I use, I may put the ailerons on separate channels. If I do, we'll leave the leads from each one separate. If I decide to go with a single channel, I'll use a Y harness off of this, but we'll decide what to do on that later. I got to see what kind of receivers I've got to put in this thing. So okay, that one is done, other than centering this up. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, I've got a receiver here. I'm running a JR Spectrum system. I run a JR 9303. My wife has a DX7, but so we run Spectrum receivers. This little AR 500 that I've pulled out of another plane. They don't make it anymore. I think AR 600 is what it went to. But anyway, we're just going to rig up a temporary bench battery. And let's see, I got another little one here somewhere. And it's just an old battery that's real old, and it still works, but you don't want to take a chance on the plane, so we just label it bench battery, and that's what we use when we build our planes. Your switch, usually it'll tell battery or bind, that's where your switch goes. Normally on these receivers, the light colored wire, whether this is JR colors are brown, red, and kind of a yellow or orange. Futaba will be black, red, and white. Anyway, the light colored wire goes toward the center of the receiver. There'll be a little bevel on your end of your fitting there that you can see, and that goes one direction. It's made so you can actually force it the other way, but it's the wrong polarity and you could damage it. So the light color always goes toward the center. If it's an N type, the light color will go up toward the top. That'll just kind of help you remember that. So we got the switch plugged in. Now we'll plug our battery into the switch. We ensure it's the right polarity. Okay, our radio's on. We'll turn this on. Oh, we got a blinking light here. Let me see. Let me turn the radio off. Turn your transmitter on first, then the power to your receiver, and let it link. There we go. Now we got a solid light. That means it's all on, ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug this, and this little receiver here it's basically a built-in Y harness. It has an aileron channel for both sides, but it's basically just a Y harness built in is all it is. So we're going to plug this as the right wing. We'll go ahead and plug it into the right side. And what we're going to do here, get my tape out of the way. Come on, get in there. Now, get this over here where you can see it. We want our servo horn a 90 degree. So what we're going to do is set that with the sub trim in here. But here's the first thing we want to do. We want to make sure it's traveling the right direction. Alright, this is the right wing, so right turn, the aileron will go up. Alright, we're backwards. Before you center that, you want to go into your radio and hit the reverse, go to aileron, reverse it. Now, it pushes back, which will make the aileron go up. Right wing, right turn, aileron goes up, left one down. Left turn, right goes down, left up. So now that we've got that the right direction, it's just slightly off of a 90 degree angle. It's not bad. So we're going to go in to our list and go to sub trim and go to aileron, and we're going to roll that around to where it is a perfect 90 degree. There we go. Alright, and we've got that centered up. We'll do the same thing in the other wing too. So alright, at this point we can unhook this. I didn't even have to take my servo out. That's a pretty good guess, huh? Alright, we'll turn the power off to that. Lay it over here out of the way where it doesn't get damaged. This one's ready to go. I got to install the other servo on the other wing, centered up, and then we'll glue the wing together. Okay, we're getting ready to glue our wing joiner, and that'll only take 6 minutes. We're using 6-minute epoxy. We've got our clamps laid out. I got 3 of them. We'll mix just enough to cover that. And then we'll have to let that set, and then we'll test fit the wing and everything and get it ready. But we'll use 30-minute epoxy on it, because you've got to have the working time for one thing, and you want a little bit more strength there too. So there we go. Equal amounts of your epoxy. You can get this most anywhere. I have tried different brands, and I like the Great Plains real well. 6-minute, but my favorite 30-minute is the Z-Epoxy. It just mixes better, and it seems to really be stronger. So we've switched over to it pretty much. We like it real well. Just make sure you get this mixed up really well. You got 6 minutes. You actually got about 3 or 4 minutes working time, and then it starts setting on you. So you only use this for something that you're going to be doing real quick. Alright, you make sure your 2 halves go together the right way, and we're going to smear this down with glue. And you will get a little on your fingers. If you do, just keep your denatured alcohol nearby with some paper towels, and it will come right off anything you get it on. Okay, got our dihedral the same direction. put those together. Get our ends as squared up as we can. All the edges pretty level. Alright, I'm going to get a clamp in the middle of this to get me some pressure on it, and then I can slide it around. Okay, I got them pretty good. I think that's about as even as I'm going to get. I like to put one out here toward the end and one in the middle. So you got a lot of epoxy now, so your edges are getting aligned, so push them back in alignment and make sure they stay there, or you're going to have to do some extra sanding. Now what you're going to want to do, don't get your arm in that, which I do a lot of times. Take you a paper towel, put you some denatured alcohol on it, and you can clean the worst of that off at the surface, and it saves a little extra sanding in the long run. I don't see a whole lot on the other side, but there's, yeah, here's some on the ends. And gets the worst of it. It looks pretty good down on that end. Alright, let's get our clamp back on there. Make sure our edges are lined up good. Looks good there. Just a tiny bit on that end. Alright, we will let that set and dry for a half an hour, or not a half hour, 6 minutes, and then we're ready to put it in the wing. It actually sets in 6 minutes, and handling time is supposed to be like 20 minutes, and then flyable is 2 hours. It's completely hardened. But you can let it set for the 6, and then we're going to glue the wing together, and that's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. I wouldn't want to glue this and then take the plane right out and fly it within, you know, less than 2 hours. So, alright, and another good indication, leave your excess laying here. If you don't look at your clock, like I forget sometimes, but a lot of times I do, I just look at my watch. You can leave this laying here, and you can come back and feel that, and when it starts setting up, you know it's about done on there. So, okay, be back in a bit.